the Riot Podcast. Happy Wednesday. This is the May 3rd edition of the show, and what a show it was.
We are excited. Hopefully you enjoy the podcast, and as we get into a lot of, we have a lot of stories that have people's opinions about them, so you are always welcome as a podcast listener to make sure to text us what you think about it to 877-2-RADIO-U, and then we might cover it again in another show.
Boom.
Boom, boom. You're right.
Today on the show, we talked about lots of good things. We talked about if Disney princesses are just too perfect, too cute.
And if you now know, once we talk about it, there's a feature that's usually very common with Disney princesses that is always perfect.
Yes, they all have it in common, and it's time for things to change.
Even though I don't feel like it's Disney princesses anymore. I mean, do
What do you
you?
mean?
Like it normally just feels like it's a strong female lead.
It is.
And like
Moana.
Yeah, like
But
in
she
a
is a
Disney
princess.
but not really.
She's literally a princess.
What's she the
Her
princess
dad
of?
is the whatever that island is.
of her thing.
Her dad is the
Not a real
king.
princess.
But it's
Her
not.
dad is the king.
It's not the traditional princess looking for
Does
a
she
prince
wear a tiara?
story. No.
Not a princess.
They can be a princess without a
Does she wear?
without a prince and a
Does
tiara.
she wear a dress? Not a
a
princess.
skirt? Like a
Not a princess.
She doesn't wear pants.
Does she go
Not a
to a
princess.
ball? If she goes to a ball, then she's a
Does she
princess.
wear slippers? Not a princess.
That sort of style. You know, like the old Disney animated movies.
you know, it's this kind of old-fashioned thinking that's gotten Disney in so much trouble.
No, I don't think so. I think we don't think princesses a lot when I think Disney as much anymore. When I was
Yeah,
younger,
you know why?
sure, but
Because you've got a closed mind.
is that it?
That's the problem.
I know better. So, yeah, okay, listen to what we have to say or what others are now pointing out about Disney princesses.
We also talked about a change possibly going forward in cars where some of the riot wanted to go to a more old-fashioned feel.
And others. One time I went to go get my oil change on my car fixed, and I was telling the guy, I was like, hey, my car gets a lot of software updates.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, you know, just to let you know, I didn't know if anybody has this issue, but I was pulling out of my garage, and you know, the dashboard that tells you like your speed and stuff, the one
Yeah.
right in front, was blank, completely blank. And even if I turned the car off, it took a bit of time for it to come back. And the guy's like, well, that's very interesting.
Isn't that something
He had no
that...
answer for you?
Well, he looked through the updates and was like, I bet it's buried in there somewhere. But I thought your dash can cause some problems sometimes, the more techie they make it.
Actually, you know what, though, for that one, that can happen also to old style because I was in the car with my mom sitting up front when she was driving and the speedometer went.
Broke.
Oh, it did?
Outrageous. It was, saying we were going like the max speed and then it would go to nothing even though we were still driving. It'd just go back and forth. It was all over the place.
But I feel like speedometers used to break way more frequently because multiple of my friends' speedometers broke while I was in high school.
So then could you,
Some people-
if you got pulled over, could you say, oh,
Didn't
my,
work.
oh, it
Yeah,
doesn't work?
I don't
Doesn't work.
Speedometer?
One of my friends did that.
You're supposed to have an
doesn't
innate
work.
feel for it.
For the speed?
Yeah.
Well, I could have just told the cop
According to
I
the
can't
police.
I can't tell anything. The whole screen was blank.
You couldn't tell you were speeding past everybody else, Nikki?
No, I
A
couldn't.
likely story.
Nope, I wasn't feeling it that day. So
Didn't have the feel for it. We also talked about how half of Americans last year did not use all of their vacation days.
we get some topics about this. Yeah.
It's a statistic that sounds outrageous. When you see individual stories, you're like, okay, that checks out. But when you hear 58% of people didn't use all their vacation, that's what
I think-
throws us
Why?
for a loop.
I think it's just because it's upsetting to you. Because it doesn't.
is.
It feels like when someone's throwing away food, it's
Yes.
wasteful.
Yes.
It's very wasteful.
When Nene leaves a pizza out on the table and it goes rotten or whatever.
Did anybody talk to Nene?
But that's your job.
I'm not
Yeah.
talking to
That's
him
your
about
job.
It is not my job to talk to him.
Whose
Nene
job is that?
Is notorious for just leaving things undone. Like he just will move on in his mind to something else. And so a lot of times he'll leave his Little Caesars pizza out in the break
Every
room.
time.
Every time. I didn't want to say that, but yes, he's pretty consistent. And so he'll just leave it out, the whole box on the table with like a piece of pizza or two in it. So no one knows if it's supposed to be free at that
Up for
point.
grabs.
But I mean,
spoiled.
But the worst one was yesterday.
Yesterday was the most egregious.
when he not only left out the box with a piece of pizza inside.
One.
I looked, one piece.
One
One piece.
But he also left out the plate with not one piece of pizza, but about a third of a piece of pizza
That he had
already started eating.
Yes.
Left it there.
Forgot about it.
So does that mean he ate almost a whole piece of pizza?
I don't know.
He might have shared it. You think he shared it with
With who?
anybody? Not us.
He's not sharing it.
I think he might have eaten the whole pizza, except for that last piece.
You know what? He's training for a marathon though, so he needs all the carb load and whatever.
yeah,
right?
I forget who said it,
He should have
but
finished that piece that he left out.
Yeah.
whoever mentioned he was treating it like it's a frat room in there. It was spot
Yeah,
on.
that's
It's
insane.
like, just stop leaving the food in there.
Isaiah, do you remember? Did you watch Jimmy Neutron?
Mm-hmm.
Nikki, did you?
No.
Do you remember Professor Calamitous?
I do not.
You don't remember him? He
Professor
was like the bad guy. Well, his whole thing, like he was only in a few episodes, but he never finished anything.
Oh.
And that's Nene.
So you should tell that
Nene
can
is-
be his nickname.
That's right.
Professor Nene, and see if he gets
Oh, I
it.
know this
Yeah,
guy.
right. He would
Yes.
never finish anything. Was like one of his
Got
quirks,
it.
and that's Nene.
Wow.
The cautionary tale.
That's what's going on here in our break room. That's a little bonus stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys know the gossip of what's going on.
You know, I brought pizza today.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. It's
You gonna
for
leave it
everyone.
out?
No, it's in the fridge.
It's for
and it says
everyone?
on there, for you.
Oh.
Because, I labeled it.
Okay.
Because sometimes there's been some confusion in the past, a.k.a. Nene, where we don't know if it's
So
for us
you're
or not.
sharing pizza with everybody.
Yeah, I have a whole pizza.
Are you going to go have some?
I don't believe it.
What do you mean? It was
I don't know.
free.
You're a nice guy. You worked here a long time. You've never done this.
It's free. It was free.
Don't doubt it,
Sometimes
will
when you know people, you just get free pizza. I've got a whole pizza at home too. I'll probably, if you guys finish it today, I'll bring a whole pizza tomorrow.
Well, my plans have changed.
Yeah, now you get
Look
some
at you.
Yeah.
It's
pizza.
pretty good too.
Well, enjoy the podcast today. Let us go eat our pizza. Or not Nene's, though, because that was gross. Make sure you text and say hi, 8772 Radio U, while you're enjoying this podcast.
We'll catch you next time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Don't say we didn't warn you. This is the worst of the riot.
The wild card movies of the summer. It's coming out later it's later in the summer. It's Gran Turismo.
Oh, for the video game.
Yeah, they've come out with a trailer for the Gran Turismo movie. And I don't know if you got to watch it, Nikki. I just went through it. I'll tell you what I like about it, and that is Hopper's in it.
I know. I love anything that he's in.
He does bring a lot of life to any role, it seems like. So
David Harbour.
David Harbour. The story of this Gran Turismo movie is that it's like a team of gamers that play Gran Turismo, and then they get recruited somehow to be a part of a actual real life in cars racing team, and they have to train and test and make it and then race in real life. And David Harbour is the trainer for these guys, but he is skeptical at first. And so it's based off of a true story. And so he's given them a hard time this whole time. And that is what I like. I like him.
Yeah.
He's funny. But that can't make the whole movie good.
So you're saying you don't like anything else about it?
And the rest of the movie. Okay, you know what else I like? Actually, you know what? Let's go back and
the
forth.
one guy's in there. Is that Orlando Bloom?
Is it Orlando Bloom?
I thought so. The guy who has the long hair.
Yeah, like he's the guy who's advocating. He's hired David Harbour
Sure.
to train these guys. He thinks that he believes in them. He thinks they can do it. David Harbour, not so much. So another thing. So here's something I don't like about the movie, or the trailer, anyways. It feels like I've seen the whole story already.
Oh, they kept saying it's just too long of a trailer.
It's a long trailer that literally feels like it gives you every single plot point throughout the movie. Don't like that. What I do like about it, very stylish. It looks cool, right? But I can't go see a whole 2-hour movie just because it looks cool. And then another thing I don't like, it just looks boring.
You think- well,
Like-
at 2 minutes and 42 seconds, it's a pretty long trailer.
If I'm bored in 2 minutes and 42 seconds by everything that doesn't involve David Harbour, then I'm not going to be entertained by a whole 2-hour movie.
I don't know. It has something. It feels, more like if you just have time, once it's on streaming, it might make a good movie. But I love racing car games.
Yeah, I do too. But I like this. It looks like a more serious take on car stuff than like Fast and Furious. But it also looks way less fun, So like,
That's the part they
And
chose to not put in the trailer.
yeah, they kept that part out. Well, it's out on August 11th. I'm not sold on it, and I know some. I've already seen some gamers are getting upset because they think that it's like a movie about games that hates gamers.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
so
don't like that take on
I
it.
feel like a little offended by that. So I don't know. I'm not on board from the trailer. And if it's tough. If the trailer can't win you over, what chance does the actual movie itself have?
But trailer editing people, stop putting the whole movie in trailers lately.
Yeah, cut this one down. Make it like 30 seconds of the good stuff.
It's the worst of the riot on Radio U.
Talking about Disney princesses, they've changed a lot over the years, right?
You think so?
Ever since Jasmine, like it used to be, they all had to be white. Now, not anymore. I think that's a great change. Like they don't look the same that they used to. But there is one thing that all Disney princesses have in common. You know what it is?
What?
The nose.
That we don't need a prince?
Now, that's a new thing.
Okay.
Have you noticed, if you go through every single Disney princess, the nose, tiny, petite.
Really?
Yeah, you think about it. But then it doesn't just stop there. Think about this. Picture the Disney villains that are ladies. Ursula, Maleficent, whatever the lady from Rapunzel's name is. Was it Mother Gauze or something like
yes.
that? What's her name?
Yeah, that sounds right what you said.
Gauze?
Sure.
We'll go with Gauze.
Mother something.
Yeah. The lady from The Rescuers, she was evil. What do they all have in common? Giant, misshapen schnozzes.
Oh, is that how they're telling people that they're evil, is by the shape of their nose?
Is what Disney is trying to tell you, that if you have a big nose in Disney's eyes, you must be evil and wicked, and you're only fit to be a villain in their world. I didn't pick up on this, but now I know why I always identified more with Ursula than anybody else.
You don't have a crooked nose.
My nose is pretty big.
No, it's fine.
It is, okay, maybe it's more like the Rescuers lady, whatever her name is. It might also be
She was like
Ursula.
the most evil.
She was. She was
She
trying
kidnapped
to
a child.
kidnapped a child and tried to kill her so she could get a diamond or
What
something.
a terrible Disney
I know.
movie.
How are kids? That's not appropriate for children.
So-
No,
Sometimes when
not
you-
at all. We're worried
sometimes-
about noses, yet they're looking at kidnapping.
When you
That's
take
nightmarish.
apart a Disney movie, sometimes it is a bit much.
Especially was that one from the 80s. That was a bad time for kids.
I just think, though, with animation, there was only so much, or how could you tell the story without sometimes using words? And maybe that's just what they thought. That was an intimidating nose.
Well, but the times have changed. I mean, Rapunzel, that's pretty recent. And they're still giving the evil characters large noses.
So you want the princesses to have a
Big
bumpier
nose?
nose?
Yes, I do.
You want
That's
the
what I think.
princesses to be unattractive and the villains to be
No,
attractive.
because a big nose doesn't
a
make
big
you
nose can be
unattractive.
So that's what
attractive
is
too.
that not what the argument is?
The art is trying to say that.
The art is saying that big noses are evil. It's not, and saying that little tiny noses are
Or what?
are desirable.
Are desirable. It sounds like a synonym for something I said. I can't figure out what it is.
The tiny noses are good and pure, and big noses can't be.
Listen, just
If we just had a Disney princess with a giant nose, then everybody would understand that giant noses can also be desirable and beautiful and pure as well.
Just put the nose in the long list. Princesses are too skinny, the feet too small. Like, it's all a list of unobtainable body image.
Yeah.
So,
well, they're a princess.
but they're and they're also not. We're not princesses, so we're not actual royalty.
I will say, you try throwing a giant nose on a Disney princess. See how that doll sells. Feel like it's not going to do as well.
You think that'll hurt the movie, the franchise?
Yeah, it might make a few people feel better about themselves, but it won't. The majority of people probably won't be super thrilled.
They say that, they're picking a typical physically attractive sort of style so that if you're looking at it, that's more favorable qualities when you're like, oh, I wish. Like, I wish I had that nose, something like that.
Makes sense.
What if we just make hotter villains? What do you
I'm
say?
down for
Isaiah?
it. I'm with it.
You have found a fix.
Yes.
I think it sounds
We've
grand.
nailed it.
So you don't want to change the princess's nose, but you're
No.
saying don't make the villain's nose the big one.
Yeah.
Just
so-
make everyone in the movie attractive.
Okay.
Does that
Love
sound
it.
good to everybody?
Beautiful.
Everybody happy now?
Problem solved.
Taken care of.
You won't hear a show like this anywhere else. And that's probably for the best. The worst of the riot. Radio U.
I want to see what people are thinking about this. Porsche has made an announcement that in their 2024 line of cars and vehicles, they are phasing something out. They are ditching the touchscreen.
Oh, on the car?
Yeah, no more touch screens in the is it the console, the
Yeah, the
dash,
dash.
whatever. They're going back to the good old knobs and buttons. Isaiah, I've never been in your car. Your car, it's pretty new. You got a touchscreen in there?
I got the old Apple CarPlay in there.
There you go.
Apple CarPlay. Nikki, I've been in
I've
Eric's. I know his is.
I've got CarPlay, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? Apparently this is something from what I'm seeing that people have been complaining about is that cars have gone over the past 15 years or so, more and more to touchscreens. And people don't like that.
Well, there's a couple of things. It's probably a safety issue because then we're just like, hey, not looking at the road and touching everything.
Yeah.
But then I find a lot with my car, they're like, no, the car will tell you you're driving, you can't touch certain things. So that can sometimes be difficult because you have to wait till you're stopped to be able to utilize some of the features.
What things does it not let you touch?
It won't let you enter in a address if you want to try to find something. So
Things
it'll
like that.
It'll tell you like, oh, the car's in motion. You can't do this yet.
So what do you say? So I didn't hear an opinion though.
I don't know if I have one. I could see it being dangerous because it's more of a distraction. But you'd also probably, I don't remember like the knobs and stuff.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it's been touchscreen for so long that I'm sure fiddling with knobs are probably just as distracting.
Yes, I agree with that.
You think knobs are just as distracting?
I think no matter what I think people aren't worried about the whole distracting thing because every single one of you are driving on your phone every day. So how much do you really want to get rid of touchscreens when you keep on pulling out the mini one in your pocket?
Well, then is Porsche just wanting to be cheap and not have touchscreens?
It's Porsche. Do you think they want to be cheap?
Well, maybe
They
they have
want to
no
put a
choice.
touchscreen and charge you more if they could.
Maybe they have no choice. Maybe they also realize that, no one uses that. You just use your phone tied into your screen.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you're like more and more, from what I understand, it's stuff like not even like obviously your GPS, you're still probably going to do that through your phone or something. And so they're still going to have a way to connect that. But you don't need a touchscreen for that because that's through your phone. You can just speak it or whatever, probably. But you're thinking like turning up the volume, changing the radio station, which you would never do because you're on RadioU all the
Good
time.
call on that one.
Adjusting the heat and the air conditioning. If you have all of that, which some cars do, on your touchscreen, one of the good things they bring up here is you don't have tactile feedback on that. So if you want to turn your heat up all the way, you can do that without looking while you're driving. If you've got a knob, you just turn it and you can feel when it stops and you know which way the heat is. But if you've got a touchscreen, you can't. You have to look at it because you don't even know if you're actually hitting the button or not because you have to see where your finger's going.
Sure.
So
I mean, it's good points.
Statistical data does not
Doesn't back that up.
Does not comply.
I mean, since like 1985, it's been pretty stagnant car crashes from the Ohio Safety Council. So I think the whole touchscreen thing, I think it's the same.
But just
Doesn't
because it's
make a
not
difference?
safe doesn't mean it's less convenient.
Well, they were also saying, okay, if you ever had anything with your touchscreen go wrong and then your whole thing's out. So, like, they want cars to be more like cars and less like this big, amazing tech thing that no one ends up using. Or if the tech is the first thing that goes bad, then you're out of car for a while it gets fixed. So it can also be an issue.
But the maps feature is incredible. If you got Apple CarPlay,
You're fine.
You're not missing a turn. Like if you miss it, it's on you. And I'll give you this too. What do you think is more distracting? Holding the maps feature on your phone in front of your face and looking down your lap, or looking at the big screen in front of you? I think looking at the big screen in front of you.
That's because I
Wait,
see more
probably
people
safer.
watching a show on their phone. And
Yeah,
I
that's
think
true.
You can still have a screen. I think just it doesn't have to be everything doesn't have to be touched through the screen. I got one last point on this.
Okay, and then I have a couple text messages when we come back.
Yeah, you know what? I'll save my point.
You wanna do
It's
that?
that good. People should wait around for it. Talking, should car companies be getting rid of touch screens? That's what Porsche is doing with their new line of, at least I'm looking if it's the Cayenne or if it's all their vehicles in 2024. But they've had touch screens.
Yeah.
And they're phasing them out
Which-
because people don't like them, apparently.
It's not a worry. That's not our cars. But then it's a trickle down effect. You know, but you like, why do they want to get rid of touch screens? Is it a lack of tech? You know, like a lot of things are still missing from cars, harder to make, more expensive. People are not using it as much. So is it good or bad?
Yeah, and I think we are, before we go any further, some are getting bogged down in the screen part where it's less about that. It's more about the having controls through the touch part of it, where can you just have a screen that's your backup camera and your maps come up on and whatever you can connect, but do you need to be able to touch it? And so to me, I haven't had that in my car, but I also don't see why that's necessary. And I can understand why people would be upset
Well, I've got Max. He said I could live without a touchscreen. Give me a fast car and I'm happy. So you want them to move that focus back onto the car itself and to make it better. So that's good. Tim says if they want to get rid of touchscreens, they should make the assistant more powerful than what it already is. Because Tim, many times will hear from Google's assistant, sorry, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So it can't work the stuff well.
Make it easier to control stuff with your voice. Seems like that would absolutely make driving your car easier and safer, although it's also true that talking on the phone, which doesn't seem like it would change that much about driving, they say that does make it more dangerous. So,
and then Ashton said prefers having a more tactile feel for sure. So bring back any knobs you want.
Yeah,
no more touchscreen.
I'm with that. And actually, I could see the argument for bringing back more knobs in general. Forget about cars. Think about this, Nikki. You have one of those. You have a cat.
Yeah.
You have one of those touch stovetops.
You mean like a stove?
Without the
No, I have gas.
You have gas. Oh, you're fancy, huh? Well, I know people with like the stoves that are touch screen.
Yeah.
And if you have a cat, it'll jump up on there and it can turn that on. It's not going to turn the knobs if you have an old fashioned knob on there, but you got a touch screen. The cat, even if it's locked, will unlock. I experienced this before. Or think about this, Nikki. Or Isaiah.
I just want to make sure your first argument is that a cat could possibly change the feature in your car. I just want to make sure before we move on.
Do you get stuff messed
Thank
up?
you for wanting to track along.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm following.
I'm
Continue.
saying
I'm ready for the second one.
I'm saying that's not only should we get rid of touchscreens in cars, get rid of them in
Everywhere.
other instances.
Got it.
Because they're not necessarily more convenient. What about this? I'm not saying.
Hudson, I can't because now I'm just seeing the cat thing too.
The cat in the vehicle. Changing from music to maps.
Yeah.
Continue.
But you know what else you can't do if you have a touchscreen?
What?
Wear gloves.
Oh, yeah, true.
It's true.
And I'm not advocating for necessarily going back this way, but think about how much easier it was. Do you remember when we used to have actual keyboards on our phones?
Sure.
How often did you type in something on your keyboard on your phone, like an actual little keyboard?
Yeah.
And that was wrong. But you do the swiping to text thing on your touch screen. You can't do that without looking. Two, it'll be gibberish half the time.
Sure.
It's not easier than just actually having a actual keyboard where you can feel where everything is.
I agree.
So I think
I do agree.
I guess tech companies are going to hear that and go, more tactile feedback on our touchscreens. Got it.
There we go.
But
okay.
maybe we just can use actual buttons for some things.
Well, Jessica agrees with you, Hudson. The knobs are easier because, you prefer the tactile experience. So you don't have to take too long to look at what you're doing.
Yeah, right. Sometimes you want to do stuff without looking. And basically what I'm saying is I want to make things easier for humans and harder for cats.
And Abraham, the cat thing has thrown me for a
I
loop.
don't want cats to be able to cook.
Or drive.
Got it.
Abraham says, I've had both types of cars, and my current car is a 2013, does not have touchscreen, and I prefer it with all the buttons. Simple is sometimes better.
That's perfect, yeah.
That's you right there.
I think that there's a lot of cars that don't have the touchscreens. You just need an older model.
Or maybe everything newer isn't always good.
Sure.
But then don't get a new thing. It's cheaper.
Sometimes
Save some money.
Sometimes this walks into the grumpy old man thing, I feel. So you just
I want the knobs.
Sounds like we got a bunch of grumpy old men listening.
And I hate cats.
Like Jessica.
I don't want the cat to turn on the AC. I mean, I don't want it on.
Find more Riot content online. Riot.radiou.com.
Isaiah's found a survey on how often how many people are just skipping vacation, and it is wild. If I understand this right.
Yeah, it's like the Expedia did a survey talking about 1,400, 500 people. They asked them pretty much if they used all their vacation days last year. They did not. Over 50%, 58%.
Who's not using all their vacation days?
That's what I thought. When I saw this, I was like, that's ridiculous. I used every day.
Yeah.
I would have used more if they would have let me.
And then a little extra.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you say 58%?
58%. So that's over half. And then they went through all the reasons that people said that they didn't.
Hold on. Let me think of a real good reason. Okay, here's the only one I can think of.
Yeah.
Your vacation rolls over to the next year.
That wasn't one of the ones.
That's not even on the list?
That's not on the list, but I have heard people who've done that before.
Yeah, that's the only reason I can think of skipping it. Otherwise,
I don't know if that's not real. If that's truly not using your vacation. I think that's more like saving it.
I think it's not using it.
But you're going to
Well-
use it at some point.
Yeah, but no,
That's
for
the
these,
idea.
this seems like it's people where your vacation just goes away and then you start the year over with your new days. They say they just didn't use it.
Yeah, like some of the higher percentages of reasons they didn't. 61% said they found it challenging to find coverage because of all of the labor shortages. Also,
Not your problem.
Yeah. Also, like workload when you return, that was a big one. Also, just like planning a trip in general.
It's stressful.
It's stressful for people. And the last one was...
Wait, I got a pro tip for people who
Yes.
have that. You don't have to go on a trip.
You just stay home.
You can just get paid to not leave your house.
That's true.
That's
especially around
also a
Christmas
vacation.
time.
It's called a. It might be a new thing to you. Staycation.
You just stay there.
Don't know if you've heard that term before.
Mm-hmm.
The last one was the whole money thing. Inflation.
Yeah.
Things cost more.
Again, just
Once
stay
again,
home. You don't
yeah.
have to do
Yeah.
something. But
That's pretty cheap.
I have a feeling there is a small sector of people that, I don't know what you work for, maybe government or just something to where they have more days off than we could ever possibly realize.
Yeah.
I also
that's
thought
true.
about that.
So they're like, well, I have 3 months off out of the whole year.
Yeah.
And you just can't use them all. We would.
Well,
but
yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Be careful what you say.
And
They
like,
just can't.
and like when people talk about the whole workload thing, like for some people, for them to just take a Friday off and stay at home, like they would be like, why didn't I just go in?
Yeah, more
because now
work.
they're gonna come in on
Yeah.
Monday and they have real jobs unlike us, and they actually are gonna be behind on things.
Yeah. I mean, still take it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're
Still
for sure
take it.
taking
Just
it.
figure it out. Just figure, like, as in, like, if you have to take a vacation and you're not going anywhere, but you're working from home and it's your vacation, at least you're not at the office.
True.
At least you can kind of be more comfortable.
Well, let's do a quick riot poll. If you text 877 to Radio U, how much time off does everybody get? How many days are we talking
Is this a
here?
negotiating
I
tactic?
don't know, just
I
curious.
think so. My roommate gets like a month off.
Yeah.
And he gets a winter break and a summer break.
You can go to your
Unreal.
boss and be like, I heard such and such. And so you can start negotiating for more days off.
Yeah, and you know some jobs too. My brother has a job where he works 4 days a week
Mm-hmm.
and gets like every holiday you could possibly imagine. Purim, he probably gets off. You know, like just anything. So if you have
He's
that,
the one answering this survey.
that's right. Why
Yeah.
would he use all his vacation time? He takes more days off than he works normally.
That's right.
And that's the dream, by the way.
Wasn't that a great riot clip? While you're here, you should watch more of our videos and subscribe so you don't miss what we do next.